Spouses who married the cool kid from your high school. What are they like now? My dad was crazy popular. Prom king. Salutatorian. Running back. Serious ladies man. He met my mom in a nursing class in college, which he took to meet girls lecture course, and he was the only guy in a sea of women. This was the 70s. They married. He became a car salesman, developed a terrible drug habit, and died of a heart attack at 52. The car salesman thing was in the 80s, so it was like American Psycho without all of the murder, but with all of the cocaine. All of it. I'm surprised there is any left. Edit 2. Thank you all for the kind words and interesting replies. Also, my first awards on Reddit would be from a random insomniac post. I was only around for the back half, but I can tell you my father was magnetic. Even in his later crispy drug-addled years he was still drawing people into his orbit. With his awesome personality. Just flew too close to the sun, and then after years of therapy I could post about it at 3 AM on Reddit. LOL. I told my wife there is a question on Reddit she can actually respond to. I think I broke her because she hasn't stopped laughing. Found out recently, 30 male, that my dad was extremely popular in high school from my aunt. I had no idea he was an all-star football player with lots of college offers and was prom and homecoming king. Never talks about it, but he's doing well. 2 kids, a dog, and a loving wife. In my opinion he's still winning. The dog got mentioned before the loving wife. LOL. My husband was the prom king and star athlete. I was a super awkward marching band nerd with severe scoliosis and a heart condition. He's always been sweet, silly, smart and kind. Still can't believe we are married. Honestly, we are both dorks. My sister married the prom king starting running back from her high school. He got fat, but also is a nice dude who makes a killing running some kind of raw materials company. Doesn't talk about the past at all. My brother was the cool kid in his grade, which extra annoyed me because I was a year older and a lot of my friends asked about him. He felt a lot of pressure to stay the coolest kid, so he made a lot of shitty choices because doing blow is what the cool kids are doing. I guess. He went to rehab by the time he was 16. He pretty much threw his life away after that and has been in and out of jail and prisons since then, 16 years later. I'm an introvert and he's an extrovert. I never knew what to say to him in high school because he was so cool and funny. He intimidated me. Now our differences complement each other, I think, and we are very happy. My mum was the nerdy girl who got all the A's and had zero social skills, and somehow managed to start dating my dad, who was the popular, good-looking guy who everyone thought would peak in high school. She was actually advised by her family and friends that he wouldn't give her the future she was hoping for. They got married at 19, had me when they were 20, and while they were pretty broke the first few years of my life, he paid for my mum to attend law school. Started his own business, and 25 years later with 3 kids, they are still so in love and have a pretty cushy life. My dad actually met one of the loud voices who told my mum she was making a big mistake marrying him, and she had said how she always knew he would turn out well, which he found hilarious. I'm the opposite of this question. I totally peaked in high school, was cheerleading captain, valedictorian, prom queen, super involved and outgoing. Now I'm fat and very unnoticeable, not pretty and maybe not ugly, just bland, and incredibly shy and reserved. Don't really have any friends, but married my high school sweetheart, who was quiet and mostly flew under the radar, and now he is outgoing, successful, and more handsome by the year. My brother married the popular girl. She was homecoming queen, prom queen, on varsity teams, in band, an honor roll student, beautiful, and super nice. 17ish years and 2 kids later, she is still a sweetheart, beautiful, and athletic. I sat next to the popular guy every day pretty much for 5 years, and I was so afraid of speaking to him. I'd watched him and his friends picking each other up and shoving the chosen one into lockers, or chasing each other around into a pylon and throwing their shoes at each other. Typical school shit. They were rowdy and loud and intimidating, but he was the quiet yet seriously funny one and I crushed on him hard for years. He remembers me as the little blonde girl who didn't speak to anyone because I was so anxious all the time. He also protected his sister from some assholes every break time and she'd come to find him for safety from bullies. Should have spoken to him sooner when school finished. Because we have the same music taste and we get on well enough now at 26 that we have a 6-month-old daughter together. My daughter from a previous relationship and we just got engaged last weekend. I adore him. He's handsome, charming and funny, and I would do anything for this man as he would for me. My wife was a hot girl that everyone gossiped about. She's still super hot, but is such a wonderful, supportive, loving person. It makes me sad no one took the time to get to really know her when she was young. I married one of our high school sweethearts. We started dating there in the late 70s. A girl everyone loved. Long straight hair down to her rear end. Smiled all the time. Always in the beauty contestant shows, and always generous and friendly. Fast forward to now, and she is still good looking, and does not look her age of 60. Great mother and grandmother and still as good a person now as she was when I met her in 77. Mom was a cool girl. Still is. Still literally gets stopped by strangers talking about how cool pretty whatever she looks acts. But divorced husband cheated and widowed second husband died. So never really managed to get a happily ever after in romance. I've only seen her as a grown up of course. But going by pictures, what I remember as a kid, she hasn't changed all that much. I think sometimes she's too used to people being in her orbit and will get sad if something happens where she's not involved. Not overtly so, but you can see she's expecting everyone to always want her there. My dad was super popular, prom king, valedictorian, class president, football captain etc. He has a high ranking, but normal roller a smallish to medium sized company. Pretty normal guy and a good dad. If brought up he will mention his high school years, but he doesn't brag. My high school friend was a cool guy. Everyone liked him. Guys and girls. He never got into fights. Was always instantly invited everywhere, and girls totally swooned over him. He's still the same awesome dude. Hasn't changed a bit. He married an incredibly hot nurse. She's still the nicest and gorgeous girl I ever met. Nothing changed. She is studying to be a pharmacist. That's something no one would guess. Since she always loved history and her school didn't have biology or chemistry. We weren't from the same school, but she was one of the most popular girls from the school. Neighborhood and university class. I met her on a graduation we both gave up. My best friend was prom king 14 years ago. Now he owns a successful small business. Never had a girlfriend. Never had a boyfriend. Not sure about his sexuality, but he's a kick-ass dude. Proud he calls me a friend as I'm an awkward introvert. Reading these answers about prom kings, head cheerleaders, quarterbacks etc. just has me as a Canadian going wow. American high school really is like on TV. The high school experience just really isn't the same here. At least not in my experience. I don't even think our ideas of popular were really the same. Mainly due to how much less important sports are here. I think without football reigning supreme it allows for way more variation for what makes someone popular. My mom was the cool girl all through high school, undergrad, grad school, but life didn't go that well. For most of her life, she had to be caring for someone in the family who was ill, and that took a huge toll on her. First it was her dad, then it was me. I had childhood illnesses, then her in-laws in quick succession, then her dad again. And finally she had to nurse my dad until he passed away from a terminal illness. She was meant to be social and have fun. And instead she was forced to be around sickness and sadness for her best years. But she is a very happy and mentally strong person in general who made the best of things. She hosted a lot of people and events. My house growing up was full of people visiting and having fun. She's very charming and easy to talk to and has a lot of fans all the time. Though, my siblings and I find her social side rather annoying. She isn't like that with us, and she tells us her charming side is just an act. And the real her is the lady who is constantly critical of us for our own good. She likes having groupies, hanging around, people who are happy to take her help and be grateful to her. She has very few friends who could be considered her equals. She also expects a lot from other people and is constantly disappointed. She wants to be the center of everything. She doesn't know to be a guest at anything. She somehow ends up running every event she's invited to. She sincerely believes she's helping, but it's just disrespectful sometimes, and when we tell her that, she doesn't get it. She likes to dominate everything and make decisions for everyone. We joke that if the Prime Minister was her friend, she'd somehow end up running the country for him. I have two school friends who both vowed if they were both single at 40 they would marry. They did. He was never married and is morbidly obese and wasn't finding anyone to date. And she was divorced with 4 kids. He became a stepfather and earns a good income and supports her as she was really struggling. He helped straighten the kids out and they have maintained the marriage and vow they kept. They love each other but are not attracted to each other and have separate bedrooms. But the arrangement is working out well in a financial and family way, and both enjoy being full-time working grandparents now and making a tidy income and living a comfortable life. My brother was a cool guy in high school. Even now, over 20 years later, he has what we call his fans that follow him everywhere. He has this posse built up of a rotating cast of best friends. He'll shine all his star power on his pick of the week, then move on to another one. He's very charismatic, good looking, life of the party, so it's easy to navigate to him. He married the popular girl and his guy friends' wives are her friends. He can also be selfish, rude, dismissive and condescending. I tend to avoid him, mainly because it's always a production with his gaggle of friends always around. Username checks out. No, but for real, I hope you're well and content with your life. When you're a teenager it can really affect your self-esteem to have a sibling like this. I had 2 kids with a former prom king. He's a crackhead now. I married the cool, outgoing, outdoorsy, sporty high school jock. Turns out he's secretly as geeky and introverted as I am. He's still the same person 25 years later. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.